Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Journey Out podcast. We are so happy to have you in with us today. We are continuing our series on healthy aging, living well at every stage. And today we're talking about nutrition and wellness for seniors. And so we have a very special guest here with us today. So let's just hop right in.
I know some people probably had it hard, but I was blessed. I ain't never saw my mom and daddy stressed. They only show success. I'm living comfort from the sweat out they backs. And that's why all I ever wanted was to give it back. I'm not ashamed cause I was raised right. Nope. I would only be ashamed if I didn't help you fight through the pain. Help you journey out the games that your mind plays. No matter what, I'm never letting my shine fade away. Forever searching for knowledge, hoping I find grace. Keep your intentions pure, be sure about the risk you take. Pop said failure builds character. I came up short a time or two. Your mind know what your heart been through. Don't let that pressure startle you, and faith out in the Lord will do you justice. We sat and we discuss it. This assistance for the public. A little love will help recover from your struggle. If iron sharpens iron, and let's turn out together forever. J-O-P. It's Journey Out. Journey Out podcast. Welcome to the Journey Out podcast.
All right. So with us today, we have the awesome, the amazing Dr. Shaneka Baylor here.
Yes.
Give her a round of applause.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, family.
Hello.
Yes.
All right, Miss Shaneka Baylor.
Yes.
Dr. Shaneka Baylor.
All right, get it right.
Can you start by sharing a little bit with us of your background and your experience working with seniors
in nutrition.
Absolutely. So, oh gosh. So I have been a pharmacist for 16 years now.
Okay.
And so I've been a clinical pharmacist for 16 years. And so I worked mostly with seniors, living with diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol issues, all of those things. And so a lot of my seniors had, because of those issues, I was like, food is the main focal point. And so I also, like a lot of people had issues with, my weight and other things. And I was like, what else can I do? And I loved cooking. And so I actually started cooking for my coworkers, lost a lot of weight myself. And I was like, what else am I going to do?
Right.
So I actually went back to get my master's in nutrition.
Okay.
Awesome.
And then, found this company called Chefs for Seniors, fell in love with it, and decided to make it my new life's work.
Oh.
And so moved into that and, really got into the business of helping seniors.
And how long have you been doing own Chef for Seniors?
6 years.
6 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So break down more about Chefs for Seniors. So you have the pharmaceutical background.
Yes.
Then you went and got your master's to become a doctor in nutrition. And so tell us more about Chefs for Seniors and what you all do there.
So with Chefs for Seniors, we actually go into our clients' homes and cook healthy food for them. So we can come in there once a week, every other week, couple times a week, whatever works best for them and, their financial needs. And, we cook those meals based on what they need. It's 100% customizable. So, I go in there with them. I do an in-home consultation. We talk about what their dietary needs are, what their health issues are, what their taste preferences are. And then we work with them, to create that menu. We have a menu because we are a national franchise. So we do have a curated menu that they can choose from. Or, if they have recipes, if they have a dietitian that they're working with, that dietitian can create menus or recipes as well. And then we come in, we do the grocery shopping for them, and we create those menus, put them in individual containers, and literally all they will have to do is heat and eat.
Heat it up and eat
Yes.
it. Awesome. Okay.
That's great. Okay, so tell me this.
Yes.
What are the most important nutrients that seniors should focus on?
Okay, so we can look at a whole gamut of things, but I really like to tell them to focus on protein. So that's going to be really important. We're going to be looking at vitamin D. We're going to be looking at calcium, and then some omega-3s and vitamin B12. So that's going to be a good place to start. Protein is probably going to be the hallmark. We think about it a lot, and it comes in a lot of different ways, but that protein and then calcium, those are going to be our backbones because that's going to help keep your strong bones with the calcium, and then protein, because as we age, we lose weight. We can lose weight. And so that protein is going to help us to keep that muscle mass as we're aging.
Right. And so, we talked about that last week, that as we age, we lose 3 to 5% most of mass as we age. So, you know, we're getting weaker, we're doing all those things. But also, as we age, I know loss of appetite is something that a lot of our seniors are dealing with. And they can't really control it, right? So how can seniors maintain a balanced diet with them also not wanting to eat as much?
And so, so that's a big thing because, you know, if you think about seniors, there's a lot of things that can cause loss of appetite.
Right.
But when you're thinking about that, let's talk about small meals a day.
Right.
So even us, you know, we're busy. We were talking earlier about, you know, what we have for breakfast.
Just coffee.
You know, and even me, because, you know, you joke like, are you still working your 15 jobs? Because I'm a busy person. But, you know, like a smoothie was my thing on the way here. So smoothies, that's also a really easy thing that can help them maintain a balanced meal because you can put protein powder in there. They can put almond or some kind of nut butter in there, which is also full of good protein. They can put fruits in there, which has plenty of antioxidants in there and a lot of vitamins and minerals. You know, you can get your vitamin D from your calcium, your milk, you know, your fortified milks in there. So you can almost get a complete meal from a healthy, not, you know, and from a smoothie you put together, not from a pre-made smoothie, you know, so that's going to be a good thing. And then other healthy snacks. So hard-boiled eggs, you know, get them little cans of like tuna or salmon, you know, because then again, that's protein. And those are generally, you know, inexpensively packed. You know, you can buy the small cans of tuna, Greek yogurt, and add some fruit and make sure you're getting just the yogurt. Don't get it with the added fruits or things like that. You can always sweeten it a little bit yourself with like honey or maple syrup or something like that. But, you know, do that. Mixed nuts or homemade granola. Add those kind of things so that way they're getting good supplemented snacks in there. And that way they can eat a little something and then still get those nutrients.
So we talked about the smoothies and we talked about snacks. So what are some easy high protein meals that they can cook?
You know, if they decide, well, right now, I'm not going to use chef for seniors, but you know, the easy thing would just be call your girl and have them come out here and fix your meals.
So, you know, that's a thing. So I always like to say, get your rotisserie chicken. So, you know, because some people like to cook, but if you don't, like my mom, she used to cook, but she don't like to be in the kitchen like that all the time anymore. So you get a rotisserie chicken because you can eat off that for, you know, a few days. And then you get, I'm going to say, I don't cut for vegetables in can. You know, it's too much sodium in that. You know, so if you're gonna get some frozen vegetables. You know, you can microwave them, but it's really easy to just, you know, take them out the bag and then, you know, steam them on the stove. So something like that. So or in the deli section, you know, find the meats that are already cut up, and then you can put those in the oven. So, you know, when you're looking for just things like that, a lot of times in the meat section, they're already going to have a lot of the meats already cut. So then, because a lot of seniors also have issues with dexterity, so you don't want to have anything that they're having issues cutting things up or things like that. So you want to make it easy for them to just be able to put it in the oven and then, you know, heat it up so they don't have to do a lot of extras, especially if they're not trying to season or do all those things that they used to do.
And let's talk about fiber too, because we do know, like, as we age, we're on multiple medications most times that can cause constipation and not everything is not flowing as easy as it used to. So how does fiber support senior health, and what are some of the best sources for it?
So it's going to maintain that regularity. So that is the number one thing that fiber is going to do. It also helps with digestion because it can push things down. So that's going to be important. But also it helps with heart health. So again, you know, it's going to help decrease your risk of heart disease. So, you know, we always think about those things as we're getting older. So fiber has a whole lot of extra health and resources. But your whole grains, so your oats. So, you know, getting your oats in the morning, if you like oatmeal, a good thing of oatmeal, or my grandmother used to like malto meal. So that's also still, you know, a good option as well. You know, obviously your fruits and vegetables are going to be really good. But then nuts and beans are also going to be really good sources of fiber as well.
So we're going to go into hydration.
Because that's huge.
And it's huge because my grandmother, the past week or so, she was dealing with
She was
unsteady.
really unsteady. So she was unsteady on her feet. She's
dehydrated.
really
Yes,
dizzy.
fatigue.
Dehydration.
And so we were like, what's going on?
We didn't know what was going on. I
And
went
we
through
took her out of
yeah.
town, and the altitude was a lot different.
Right,
Yeah, so
but
that can make it worse.
Right.
But listen, I went through the medications. Hey, are you taking your medications properly? Are you doing X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
To come and find out that
She
she
was
was
dehydrated.
dehydrated.
Yep.
So, why seniors are at a high risk of dehydration? Can you answer that question for me?
So yes, so there's a lot of things that happen. So as we get older, our bodies change how we process fluid. So we are starting to lose more fluid as we get older.
Right.
So most times we lose the water. But we do know in certain instances, when we have our kidney failure, we can retain water. Or if we have heart failure, we can retain water.
Right.
But most times we're losing it. So that's why, you think about it when you also think we lose the muscle, but you also see that our skin sags. That's because we're losing that water as we age. So that's where the dehydration comes in. And then also we talked about how we don't have the taste perception.
Yes.
So we also don't have that thirst perception. And even in regular adults, if you think about it, so often we don't even think about that we're thirsty. And I always like to remind people, by the time you think you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
Oh,
Right.
So for us, if we as adults don't even realize we're dehydrated till we're thirsty, think about what that is for an
the
older
seniors,
person.
yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
So
And two, the good thing with Granny, we told her like, hey, you're dehydrated, so we're gonna drink some more water, and she was fine. But there are some seniors who just don't like water. They
Right.
don't want to do
Right.
it. So what are some creative solutions that we can try that can kind of boost them to drink the water and encourage them to do so?
okay. So water is always going to be your first choice. But
Right.
there are other options other than water. So I always like to say encourage water first and then think about other things to use. But you can use, small bottles of water. So when my grandmother was living, we would always give her the little 8-ounce bottles because she could manage that better. So we could, we would sit those by her and we'd be like, okay, Mima, come on, give me that before we'd have her eat her food.
Right.
So, and we would encourage that. So, having them drink that small bottle before they had their food is always going to be something, using reminders or hydration schedule. So
That's
those
true,
are going to
too.
be good
Yeah.
things because sometimes you just forget.
Right.
Making it definitely with mealtime or before mealtime. Using water-based foods is going to be another way to increase hydration.
And that's hydration-based
Yes,
food.
hydration-based
Okay.
food. So like your cucumbers, your watermelon,
Yes, the good stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
celery, those all. So that increases it. Broths, those are going to be it. Now, I always put as an aside, as we get older, some people might be on a fluid restriction.
Okay.
So always remember, if your doctor has put you on a fluid restriction, water, broth, soup, all those are going to be included
Okay.
in that. So you will have to
True.
calculate all that if they're on a fluid restriction.
Okay.
Right.
But those are all things. But then also think about if there's anything that might be keeping them from drinking the water. So with Granny's experience, that was different, but do they have some kind of incontinence? And that's why they're not drinking the water. So you want to ask them those questions too, because, they might want the water,
Right.
but are they going places and they don't want to use it on themselves?
Right.
Yes.
So make sure you're also having those questions and those conversations with them
Right.
and addressing those issues. Or are they having some kind of mobility issue? Can they not grab the cup?
Right.
Is there something, to make sure
Right.
that they can access it the way they need to?
Right. And along with hydration, I do know digestive health is something that's super important. So as we age, of course, seniors have common like digestive issues, whether it's constipation, bloating, acid reflux, and things like that. So how can digestion be improved through diet and lifestyle as we age?
So fiber.
Okay.
Is going to be number one, and hydration. Those are going to be your top two. And if those aren't helping, then, obviously talking to the doctor and making sure that there is no other kind of issues. But then if there is an acid reflux, looking at what they are eating, making sure there's no spices or some other
Right.
kind of food that's getting caught in there and that's making the reflux happen. And then
Right.
removing those foods so that digestion is better.
Right.
What role do probiotics play in gut health?
Oh, probiotics are great because they, it makes that good bacteria,
Yeah.
so it makes a healthy gut. Healthy gut makes your digestion better. It can help, with helping you with constipation and things like that, and it makes it smoother. So we want to add probiotics to the mix.
Okay. All
So
right.
And are there any like probiotic or prebiotic foods that they can like buy from store? Or is it all mostly pill based?
oh no, every food is good first.
Right,
You will
right.
always hear me say food is first.
Okay,
Food
okay.
is first. So for probiotic foods, you want to look at yogurt.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you can always find good yogurts that have strains of probiotics in it. Kefir, you can look at sauerkraut, and then even kimchi and kombucha. So those are all
It's all the way these days.
Kombucha.
Kombucha.
It's a drink.
It
Kombucha is a
Kombucha.
drink. So it's something you can drink, and it's almost like a soda.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you? Okay, sidebar. So when you do, all right, you want to cut back on sodas
Yes.
and all the sugary
Yeah, for
drinks,
sure.
right? So you call it Kabuta?
Kombucha.
Kombucha. Okay.
Kombucha.
So
Yeah.
what is there anything that you can get past maybe the taste? And it's more than likely it's because, hey, we've been used to certain sugars or certain things for a long time, and trying something new, it just don't taste well for me. But what is a way to surpass that? Is it any secret? You the chef, you the doctor.
Really, no. So is when you're trying to get past like sweet stuff and trying to, you
Right.
just have to break the habit. So I
Okay,
usually
okay.
say, because we haven't, so now like we don't buy, like we buy plain yogurt and
Okay.
then I sweeten it myself.
Okay.
So most things, like I add fruit.
Okay.
So that's a natural sweetener.
Right.
And then I stopped using most artificial sweeteners a long
Okay.
time ago. Like we use monk fruit,
Monk
or
fruit.
we'll use honey. That's
Yeah.
most, and then we'll use maple syrup for some
Okay,
things.
okay.
But that's generally what we use.
To sweeten. And change the
Right.
the
Exactly. So
okay.
if you want something a little sweet, but then that's what you do. Like you start off, you cut back with how much of the sugar or the sweetener you put in, and you use real fruit to start sweetening things so that you can change your taste of the sugar.
So kombucha.
Kombucha.
So, and that's like a soda, right?
Yeah, and
It's
So-
fermented.
it's
right?
fermented though.
So,
Yes. And you can actually make kombucha at home. There's recipes
It's recipe-
online.
okay.
Yeah, so it's and even sauerkraut, you can make it
Yeah.
at home,
Okay.
and kimchi, you can make that at home too.
and if you don't know how to, guess
Just
what?
get
You
chefs
got-
for seniors
Chefs for
in
seniors,
here
thank
to
you.
come and help you.
Yes, and then even with prebiotics, now that's even better because like prebiotics is the food for the probiotics, So,
Okay.
but prebiotics is like basically it's what we can't really digest, so it goes right through us, so it's good for us too. But your body just it just goes through.
Okay.
So when we're talking about prebiotics, we're looking at garlic,
Yeah.
onions, asparagus, bananas,
Okay.
and whole grains. So those are things that you can be eating all the time. So those are good probiotics too.
Okay.
So
We love those.
I know we're talking about for seniors, right? But is this good for all ages?
absolutely.
Great. Okay.
And the reason why we're talking about nutrition as a whole anyway is because we are looking for longevity in our lives. A lot of us, even at my age, are dealing with different what do you want to call it, chronic conditions,
Yes.
because of the way our lifestyles and what we eat and what we digest. And so as we're talking about nutrition and lifestyle for longevity, talk to me about some diets that we can potentially get on. Like I know the Mediterranean diet, right? What makes the Mediterranean diet one of the best for senior health, or just all inclusive for everybody's health?
So I think when they have done studies on the Mediterranean diet, it's really because of its high concentration of fruits and vegetables, whole grains.
Okay.
It uses its main source of fat is olive oil.
Okay.
And so, olive oil is a really good, healthy fat that's, been studied, and, it doesn't use a lot of, the protein that it concentrates on is like fish.
Okay.
So, it's all those things that has all the things that we pretty much talked about, like it's not a lot of dairy, but the dairy that it is healthy dairy.
Right.
It's looking at yogurt, a little bit of eggs, but
Right.
it's a plant-based, mostly lifestyle, looking at those kind of things. So it's looking at lowering that incidence of chronic diseases. So
Right.
it's all of those things that we've talked about.
And it could be the way it's cooked, spicy or not spicy.
Well, it does. Yeah, I mean, they use spices,
Okay.
you know, but it's the Mediterranean way, so they use their own spices. So, you know, they're going to use garlic.
Right,
They're going to
okay,
use,
okay.
you know, they're going to use the onion that we talked about. They have their own set of spices. You know, with Chefs for Seniors, we don't use salt really because we're working with an older population, so they're using other spices to flavor the foods and all those kind of things. So,
Cool. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, what are foods that are linked to longer life and better cognitive function?
Okay, so I always so last year when I was doing a lot of talks, I focused on blue zones last year.
Okay.
So I don't know if y'all have ever heard of the blue zones.
I haven't heard of that. No, I
don't
haven't
think
heard
so.
that.
So okay, so the blue zones I can't think of the name of the author right now, but he worked at the time for National Geographic, and he looked at 5 regions all over the world, and they focused on, it found like these 5 regions had high incidence of centenarians, or people who were living over 100.
Oh, okay.
And so like it was in Japan, Costa Rica, a couple of places in the Mediterranean, and then in Loma Linda, California. And so,
Loma Linda, California?
Right.
Okay.
And
All
then you said the Mediterranean, so
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
So we had that. So, you know, the thing that they all had in common was, again, most of them were like plant-based, you know, kind of diets. You know, and then also they had other things about large areas of like they were community based. There was a lot of, you know, walking and other things, but the plant-based lifestyle, the way they ate, you know, high concentrations of olive oil, you know, lower meat consumption, things like that. So, you know, when I say, I didn't want to say that there was a specific food, but it was more of the lifestyle. Like
The
focusing
change.
on the plant-based diets, you know, and making sure that we're consuming, you know, more of those things,
Fruits
you know,
and
making sure
vegetables.
you're centering your plate around
About
plants, and then, you know, you're adding your other protein-based foods and things like
and
that.
that don't mean necessarily you have to go vegan.
Exactly.
Right. Okay,
Right,
cool.
because most of these places, you know, some of them, because they're surrounded by water, you know, of course, they're going to be more plant-based, and then you eat what you have access to.
Exactly.
But in, you know, Loma Linda was different because they are, what are they? I forgot which religion they practiced. So they were vegan.
Okay.
So they were very, you know, they were the completely vegan. But most of the other places either had fish, you know, but it might have been once or twice a week, you know, or maybe, you know, and when they had red meat, you know, it was more like maybe on Sunday, you know, that kind of thing. So it wasn't that they were completely, but in Costa Rica, they were kind of the difference where it was more traditional, like they were eating more rice, beans, because they were more of a cattle country.
Okay.
Right.
As opposed to some of the Mediterranean places.
Right.
So, you know, there was some differences, but you could still see that plants or whole grains was the center of the meal.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's go like more from your pharmaceutical background too. Like, what is the importance of vitamins and supplements for aging adults?
That's funny because, you know, when we were looking at some of the things, it was going to be one of my things I was going to say at the end. But vitamins and supplements, they play a part.
Yeah.
But I would say they're not the main thing.
Yeah.
You know, once you have a whole foods diet, then you add the supplements to that. You know, so
to help kind of boost it a little
exactly.
bit. But the food
is the nutrient.
Is the nutrient. Yes, you want to get as much of your nutrients from your foods first.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. So a practical meal planning tips for independent seniors and caregivers. So what that practical meal look like? What's a 5-minute, 10-minute meal for a caregiver taking care of their loved one or a senior living by themselves?
They're independent and they can do it.
I mean, you know, you could do some soups, quick soups, you know, stews. I mean, you know, if you can brown some, you know, lean ground beef, you know, every now and again. We talked about frozen vegetables. Buy you a bag of mixed vegetables.
Right.
Make you know, buy a thing. This is the only time I will say can. A can of tomatoes, the low sodium or no sodium, you know, and some no salt broth. And you have yourself a soup.
Okay.
That will, literally take you 20 minutes. Let it boil, and you've got yourself a soup.
Okay.
And they can eat on that, for
Yeah.
a few days. And so, when you're talking about your seniors or your older adults, you also know that their appetite is generally going to
right.
be smaller.
Right.
So,
Right.
something like that is going to last them for some days. You can also talk about, maybe some grilled fish or, season it up a little bit, bake it in the oven, cut up some sweet potatoes, same kind of thing. You can bake those or roast them in the oven because
Right.
roasting your vegetables is going to be good for you as well. A lot of times people forget about roasting,
Right.
and that's also something that you can do.
Well, I tell you what, I'm hungry.
I know. We only had
I'm
coffee
hungry.
today,
Yeah, I'm
so
hungry.
I
So
understand that.
yes, okay.
So, Shaneka, you have talked about like some awesome things
Awesome.
today,
Oh, yes,
and so I'm
yes.
so glad they were able to get all of this like invaluable information from you. I would say this: I want 3 things that I want them to take away. First thing, if you had to recommend 3 simple dietary changes for better senior health, what would they be?
Fill your plate with plants.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you want to start. And by plants, I mean fruits, vegetables, even whole grains, all of that. Make that the focal point.
So, what about collard greens?
That's a plant.
Right, but do you
He
want
want-
hog mouth or do you want turkey?
Smoke them and do the
Turkey.
Turkey, okay. I'm just making sure. I like collard greens.
Yes, but turkey.
Okay, that was one.
And even with that, don't boil them, saute them, or
Keep them a little crunchy.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, all
So you
of that.
get the
Because they get more
nutrients.
nutrients.
Yeah.
Yes, because when you boil them, you're boiling out all the good stuff.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. So
all
what about the stem?
you can cut off some of the stem,
Come on,
yeah,
but the
but
stem is-
saute them.
saute, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
And then hydrate. So, like we talked about, making sure, but within whatever that restriction,
Right.
if there's a restriction, whatever that's supposed to be. And then making sure you're incorporating beans, nuts, and seeds, because the other thing I didn't mention is the mind diet. So
Right,
that can
yeah.
also help with cognitive health. And so beans, nuts, and seeds is an important part of that. So
Okay.
making sure you're getting some servings of beans,
And
nuts, and seeds.
she love beans.
Yeah.
I do not. I'm sorry, I won't eat them. But whatever,
Nuts and seeds.
I can do that. No, I'm not eating it. I can't eat it.
Okay. Well, making sure you're getting some servings of beans, nuts, and seeds.
Okay, awesome,
Yes.
awesome. Well, where can they find more information about you and connect with all of you on social media?
Okay, so the best place to find me is going to be if you just go to chefsforseniors.com. That's our general website, but you can find me in the Arlington Grand Prairie, or you can look for me in the Fort Worth or the Plano area. And all of those are me.
Okay,
All
awesome.
of those are me.
And so, and if they're not living in those areas, there's other Chef for
Yes.
Seniors
all over the
locations.
country.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
Yes.
Awesome, awesome.
And do they I know you just said it, but do they have a direct email or something to get to you?
Phone number, whatever you want.
Yes,
you
yes. So you can find me at Shaneka, that's SHANEKA, at chefsforseniors.com. And then the number is 682-800-9994.
Perfect.
Perfect. Listen, collard greens, smoked turkey.
And sauteed.
Sauteed.
Not
Okay.
boiling.
Okay, look, we're gonna get this together.
Yeah.
When
And
we finally decide to start eating breakfast in the morning, we'll get to the
Okay.
Yeah,
greens.
yeah.
But I thank you so much for coming on and
Yes.
being a part of the Journey Out podcast.
Thank you guys for having me.
We
Thank
just
you.
love you and adore you. And you guys, please, tune in with her, Shaneka at chefsforseniors.com. She gave you the phone number. Please look out for if you or your loved one need someone to come in and prepare those meals to make sure that they're healthy and they're having the balanced diet that they deserve. Please do not hesitate to reach out. Again, if this episode was helpful and it just gave you all the knowledge that you need to go out and be a resource to somebody else, please feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We are growing a really great community here and we're growing super fast. So we thank you all for all the love and support, and just continue to share this information out for everybody so they can journey out on this journey together with family and community.
And I hope this information was a resource to you for your family. So take that resource to your family and also to your community. And we out.
Have a blessed one. Bye, y'all.